Hey everybody, Lance from Permanent Records here, back with another video. This time around, I'm going to showcase some of the rare rock records we have in the shop. Permanent Records, over the years, has developed a reputation for being a rock record store. We don't carry just rock records, but we do get a lot of rock records. And I don't know if that's a chicken before the egg kind of situation or what, but rock is what we do best. It's what we carry the most of, and it's what we buy the most of. So I'm here to show you some of the most expensive and collectible rock records we have in the shop right now. So without further ado, let's start with a classic. We got Velvet Underground, White Light, White Heat. Not only do we have one, we have two, we have three copies of the original pressing of Velvet Underground, White Light, White Heat right now. That's not something that's always the case around here, but of course that's a classic staple. If you're looking to dabble past the most basic level of rock music, you're obviously gonna encounter Velvet Underground at some point. They're one of the most iconic and influential rock bands in the history of music. Lou Reed, Sterling Morrison, Maureen Tucker, John Cale, Andy Warhol. It's, the story. They did, three proper Velvet Underground records with the core group. Moved on after that. Loaded is an incredible record too, if you haven't heard that. They did lots of amazing records, and White Light, White Heat is a quintessential one, obviously. Neil Young, Tonight's the Night, not generally a very rare record, but this is a promo. It's not a white label promo, it's a black label promo on this one. This is the only promo I think of this album that's ever come into the shop. This is a classic album. If you don't have it already, obviously it's highly recommended. But only collectors and completists need the promo version, but those of you who are those kinds of collectors, you know who you are. Here we go. Here's kind of a more obscure one. The Velvet Turner Group. So Velvet Turner, this gentleman right here, he was the leader of this group, obviously, and he was a protege of Jimi Hendrix. So this album sounds like a long-lost Jimi Hendrix record. It is about as sweet of an homage as you could possibly hope for. And also for Hendrix fans, this record will kind of fill the void that Hendrix left in his passing, with kind of another album that fits in that psychedelic rock with like a funk leaning to it vibe. There are weirdly two different mixes of this album. There's a soul mix and a rock mix. The soul mix is the version that came out originally, and I wouldn't say it's especially soulful. It is a funky rock record, but it is called that because the rock mix has guitar overdubs for days that are just out of this world. The original mix has like crazy amount of lead guitar on it already, as you might expect from a Hendrix protege. This album is out of control on every level. Whether it's the soul mix or the rock mix, you're gonna love it. Here's another great one, an obscure one, and we happen to have two copies of this Thunder and Roses. This is the original pressing. This is highly recommended for fans of heavy blues rock with a crunchy psychedelic tinge to it. As you can imagine, with album art like that, you're getting into some seriously trippy territory. Thunder and Roses. The first track on the A side of this, White Lace and Strange. Just go listen to that and you'll be sold immediately. I guarantee it. All right, here's an odd one. So Rolling Stones, Some Girls. Classic album, not really rare generally, but check this out. One of the faces on the album cover where all the rest of them are punched out, this one not punched out. That's an odd variant. It's not the kind of thing that you see every day. It's not the kind of thing that everyone cares about, but it is rare. That kind of thing is what can kind of skyrocket the value of a $10 to $20 record up into the hundreds. I've never seen another one with an unpunched out face, and this is the only one we've come across since we got this one. Lou Reed, as we already discussed, member of the Velvet Underground. Well, you're familiar, I'm sure, with Lou Reed's solo material, Berlin, and oh man, why am I spacing? Transformer, etc. Lou Reed Street Hassle, as I may have mentioned already, is one of my favorite solo albums by Lou Reed. Well, this is maybe the most obscure and difficult listening of all of Lou Reed's records. This is Metal Machine Music, the infamous Metal Machine Music. This happens to be a quadraphonic pressing of this. He was always kind of a contrarian, let's say. He's going against the grain. And on this album, he uses tape loops and echo and, feedback, etc. to make a four-sided noise album. This is pure noise right here. Metal Machine Music. It doesn't quite describe what you're going to hear when you hear this album. This is the Lou Reed album that people brought back on the day of release thinking that they got a defective album, because it is just pure feedback and noise on this album. It is hard to come by, but the quadraphonic version is especially hard to come by, and we have one here in the shop right now. Here's another quintessential rock record. If you like rock music, this is already probably filed on your shelf, and if it's not, it should be. MC5, or the Motor City 5, as you know, from Detroit, Michigan. They did 3 proper studio albums, and all of them are killer. This one, by far the most iconic. Kick Out the Jams, of course, with the uncensored lyric where he goes, "Kick out the jams." We're gonna just pretend like I said it there for the kiddos out there, since there could be potentially people that shouldn't hear the F word watching this video. Those of you who have heard this album know exactly what I'm talking about. This is not the Brothers and Sisters version. This is the uncensored MFer version right here. Amazing album from start to finish, and this is the rarest version of that outside of a sealed copy or a white label promo. Getting into more obscure territory, this impeccable album is called Live on the Rocks. This is a 1979, 78 or 79 Texas hard rock album, kind of proto-metal thing. It's in Acid Archives. It's quite good. This is a super clean copy of it. Hardly ever turns up in the wild. We go on buying trips fairly regularly to Texas, and we'll bring this home with us whenever we can. It doesn't happen on every trip, but it did this time. All right, another classic, but a rare variant. This is the Outside Inside album, of course, by Blue Cheer, their second studio album after Vincebus Eruptum. This is a classic of the genre. This is where heavy metal began. Black Sabbath and Blue Cheer are commonly referred to as the progenitors of heavy metal, and that is absolutely true. This is heavy psych from the late 60s, and one of the earliest examples of it, and it just happens to be a promo version, and I think this is the only one of these I've ever seen in the flesh. It's not a hard record to come by in its stock form. It's like a $20 album and $20 well spent, but this version is rare and expensive. Slightly more obscure, but also a promo. This is a white label promo of The Ultimate Prophecy by J.D. Blackfoot. J.D. Blackfoot is a pretty unsung musician. He was very prolific in the in the 70s generally. This album was his first LP, and it is out of this world cosmic American music. And on one side, like kind of CAC vibes, rural psych, and then the flip becomes what can only be described as a magnum opus of epic proportions. it takes you on a very wild journey, and it's called The Ultimate Prophecy for a reason. Check this one out. All right, here's an oddball one. We're gonna keep burning here. How to blow your mind and throw out a freak. How to blow your mind and throw a freak out party. This is a psychsploitation record of the highest order. I mean, look at that album art. It's unbelievable. The band is called The Unfolding, and the album, this must have been just like a one-off studio project. I used to know more about the background of this because I was really stunned by it the first time I saw it. And anyway, it's a psychedelic journey of epic proportions. You gotta check this album out. If you're into krautrock and psych, or both, you're gonna dig this. It's out of control. All right, let's skip over a couple of these here. Everybody knows this iconic album cover, the 13th Floor Elevators, psychedelic sounds of the 13th Floor Elevators. This album and this band blows my mind every single time I listen to them. The fact that these guys, you know, Rocky Erickson, of course, and the rest of the 13th Floor Elevators were making this kind of music in Texas in the late 60s is wild. Just put that in context. Making music like this in Texas right now would be something, but making it back when they did is what makes albums like this so incredibly important and special. If you don't have this album, it is a must listen, and it's a grower. You have to spend some time with this one. You got to listen to the album and read the lyrics and the liner notes while you listen to it to really kind of fully understand it. You don't have to take substances to get into an altered state, because it will do that for you on its own. But substances can kind of enhance the listening experience with that one. The Stooges, getting back to Detroit, the Motor City. These, you know, the Stooges, you know Iggy Pop. Of course, this is their debut album, and it is a proto-punk masterpiece. This is like where punk rock began. Just like the Velvet Underground, anybody who went to see the Stooges back in the day saw them and immediately wanted to form a band, because they were like, I can do that too. This is the everyman's rock band, and the Stooges in the early days did it better than anybody else. This is an original pressing of that one. Very hard to come by. And we'll leave on this one. Morgan. This is an original pressing of this psychedelic masterpiece. Steve Morgan was an amazing guitar player and songwriter. He did this one album. This is his sole LP, and that's so tragic, because the playing and the songwriting on this are so unbelievable that you have to imagine that there was more material, more creativity in this gentleman. And it is a damn shame that this is the only album, but at least there's this one. Some bands, like the bands that we've comped on Brown Acid, did one single or didn't even release any of their recordings that they made back in the late 60s. Well, Morgan did, and this album is a masterpiece. The original pressing is expensive, hard to come by, etc., as you might imagine. It's on ABC Probe, I think from 1969. I don't know why I'm dropping facts without doing the exact research and taking notes beforehand, but it's a late 60s psych record, and all you need to do is listen to Welcome to the Void one time to be sold on it. The instrumentation, musicianship on that thing, plus the lyrics are psychedelic. It's a psychedelic, grim fairy tale twisted on its head and bent into oblivion, to be honest. Well, we have an original copy of this at the shop right now, and we also carry reissues of that as well. One record, the rarest record, one of the rarest rock records, is this Stonewall record behind me. That's not an original, unfortunately. It's the reissue that we did, and you can get that. Not this shirt, unfortunately. These are unavailable at the moment, but you can get that at our website and or in our shop. So come on down and pay us a visit. Check out the new rock records we're getting in all the time. Thanks.